Good evening, everyone. Sunday, the 16th of November, and boy, oh boy, are we going to have a good show this evening. Now, I wanted to bring you three of the most handsome men in the movement. Unfortunately, they weren't available, so you got myself, you got Richard Inman, and you got the one and only Howard Cox. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
You're funny, Paul. You're funny.
I'm not really, but there you go.
Yeah, Paul,
boys, go on.
Can I just say something before we start? Why was your snow falling upside down?
My snow?
Yeah. That little intro you had. It was upside down, mate.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was going against gravity. You need to get that sorted out. It's just you can't have snow falling upwards.
Now, guys, before we get any further, right, I've got a poll going on this show tonight, and listen to this. Consider this, but there might be some tactical voting going on here, right? So the poll reads, who is the best of a very bad bunch? This is if Keir Starmer gets royally kicked out and whatever. So who is the very best of a very bad bunch? 25% have voted for Shabana Mahmood. 35% have voted for Andy Burnham. 33% have voted for Wes Streeting. And 7% have voted for Angela Rayner. Now, we'll keep our eyes on that vote as the stream progresses, but I'm going to suggest there's some tactical voting going on there somewhere along the line, and I'll give you my reasons later on. First of all, Howard, you haven't been on for a while. Welcome back. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's been a busy time, really, what's going on. I'm doing a fair bit of travelling and talking on to Advance UK. Hopefully, I'm converting quite a few over. Been into Leeds recently. That was a good one, and I went to the Isle of Wight and the places. I'm speaking in Wales and speaking in Manchester, and it's for some reason Ben's quite happy for me to open my big gob, and basically, I'm proud to do that.
I think that we all know why Ben allows you to open your gob, Howard. Often describe you as the nicest man in British politics, but that's another story. So you must be doing something right, Howard, because you're the only one of the group, of the gang, if you like, that's still allowed on GB News and Talk TV. So you must be doing something right.
Well, I think they can't really ignore the fact that I run probably the most successful public affairs campaign in the last 15 years, and that's the keeping fuel duty frozen, and that's the reason why. And I, for example, I'm quoted in the Mail today, and the Mail on Friday, and I'm quoted in the Telegraph, and they come to me because I know a little bit, because one of the things I talked about today in the Mail was that these narrow lanes. I don't know if you saw that in the paper. But I also start talking about a bit of politics as well. And obviously I talk about the biggest, because I went with the Pink Ladies to a protest outside the London Assembly, Sadiq Khan, because he's denying child rape gangs even exist in London, even though there's 9,000 rapes going on there. But and the other, at the moment, we're a week and a half away from the budget, the winter budget. And as a result, I'm just totally dedicated to that. I'm running a reception for MPs tomorrow. This is my 15th annual reception, just pre-budget one, which I basically asked them to come along. And I have to say thank you to a lot of MPs who helped me. And this one's been sponsored by Lewis Cocking, MP for Broxbourne. You may not have heard of him. He's only a young guy, he's early 30s. Very good, very switched on, very right wing, quite sympathetic to my Advance UK. He keeps saying to me, come back to the Tories, Howard. And I said, no chance. No
chance of that.
But it's interesting because, seeing a young guy like that's actually thinking about what diesel and petrol means to this nation. And what we're seeing, that we're going to talk about it, I know, but we're seeing a chancellor that is so clueless. And tap dancing all over the place, reversing on decisions. Not just the manifesto. 1 minute we're getting a 2p increase income tax. Now that's dropped, and and when we got the benefit cap's going to be dropped as well. It's going to, you can have 35 kids all on benefit, and those sorts of things. It's a mess. It's a complete mess. But one of the most consistent things is that the cost of transport is so important to inflation, jobs, the economy, and if we can actually make sure we reduce the cost of transport, whether it's fuel duty or making sure people aren't profiteering in garages, which, I mean, that's another aspect I fight on. We would actually, inflation would reduce, more jobs, there'd be more jobs, GDP would grow, all those sorts of things would happen if you just make transport costs lower. And just look at the US, you know, the price of diesel and petrol there is 40% of what it is here. And you'll find that because we're still the most expensive diesel and petrol in the world, you know, in terms of fuel duty. Okay.
Well, only mention all travellers. I mean, look at the cost of trains.
Absolutely right, and you know, and obviously, but one of the things that people, it's been reminded to me on a regular basis is that people feel safer in a car than in a train. It's a bit of an irony, isn't it? So yeah, I'm fighting that. I'm also delivering a 150,000 signature petition the day before the budget, and I've written a letter which MPs have signed. They've got 60 or 70 of them signed, which I delivered to Rachel Reeves. It's the usual thing I do every bloody year, and it's a hard slog. It is working with. It's like watching paint dry in Parliament, getting these people to actually move, and you know. And one of the things which you know your listeners and viewers will understand is this: when you talk to an MP face to face, a backbench MP, they agree with you. But when they move into the cabinet, suddenly that all goes out the window, and they suddenly get whipped into a situation where we're looking into the uni-party globalist approach to running this country, and that's the frustration for me. And our only hope is Advance UK, and of course Ben leading that. We all love Ben. I watch you talk about Ben, and you're absolutely right. But it isn't the Ben Habib's party; it's the college's party, and it's the Ground Roots party. And Ben will be, and that's the beauty of this party, is that Ben is totally under scrutiny. If he doesn't perform, he's out. That wouldn't happen in Reform, would it?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Rob Howarth, hi Paul. Thanks for taking time to stop and chat with us in town yesterday. All the best, Rob and Angela. Pleasure to meet you both. Bumped into Rob and Angela after they'd only been in town for a very short time, so that was nice. And Nash is a new member. Jackie says Howard's a bit of a salt. There you go.
Oh God! As an old age pensioner, I'm not doing bad, I suppose.
Take the conflicts weight and get them, Howard. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, Howard. I'll take them all night, brother. At my age, I'll tell you that now.
Well, it's interesting, guys, because just out of shot, it's my wife, and she's laughing her socks off at that one.
Sue, I met Howard outside court for Tommy, top man. He is indeed. Right, Richard. We know what you've been up to, but before we get into the big topic of the night, which I want to discuss tonight, look, the Sharks are certainly circling around Starmer in number 10. His own party looks like they're going to be. I think this is a foregone conclusion ultimately. And later on, I want to discuss the question: who is best for us? Who is best for us as a movement? Who would we want to see? Who's the best of a bad bunch? Getting a little bit of feedback there from someone. I'm not sure who that is.
Howard. I think Howard might have frozen.
Let's have a little look. Let me just remove Howard and I'll bring him back in. Hopefully that might work.
Still a bit.
Howard, if you can hear us, we're getting a bit of feedback there from you, mate. Let's hope we don't lose him altogether. I think he might have lost his internet connection for a minute. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. He's gone. Hopefully he'll be able to get back in. We're going to be talking about what's the best case scenario for us as a movement moving forward. Obviously, we know what we want long term. That's not going to happen in a minute because it's not going to be a general election. So if Starmer is replaced, who would be best for us? But we'll come to that a little bit later, Richard, and I want to get obviously Howard in on that as well. Before we go on to that, I want to discuss this. There was a video earlier on from Southampton yesterday.
Bristol, Paul.
Sorry, Bristol, from Bristol.
Yeah.
Not Southampton, you're dead right, from Bristol. There's a couple of videos, 2 or 3 videos doing the rounds from Bristol yesterday.
Well, one of the things I noticed, Paul, and it's a bit of a jokey one, but it kind of sums up what's going on with the police in Bristol. Those bibs look like something you just get out of a corner shop. I mean, and a lot of them were belly tops. So me and my wife were talking about, we're saying, are they the same bibs they wear on the Gay Pride thing? You know, when they're all strutting about with the little belly tops on. You know, I mean, it looks absolutely ridiculous. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
he's back.
Howard's back.
Howard,
yeah, sorry about that. My internet crashed.
No worries, mate. Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, sorry, mate.
No problem at all. Howard, before we get on to the Labour question about who may replace Starmer and who will be best for us as a movement, I wanted to talk about what happened in Bristol yesterday. We were just talking about the state of the police and for me, more their lenient behaviour towards this intolerable lot, this Antifa, spotty, smelly, their behaviour was appalling yesterday. It was threatening, it was aggressive, and the police just were like kid gloves with them. The guy in the picture here, standing behind two policewomen, was pushing and shoving with them. They're pushing him, he's pushing them. I mean, when are they going to stop treating these absolute morons with kid gloves?
Well, from my point of view, I mean, I saw it when at the UTK, United.
Unfortunately, Howard's frozen again. Richard, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, well, I mean, picking up what probably what Howard was going to say, I imagine he was going to say about the difference in the policing on the UTK thing. You know, the riot shields and the batons were out. There was nobody masked up. And look, at the end of the day, I think the police did fairly well on the UTK thing, but there was 2 or 3 occurrences where they got very, very violent, very, very quickly, and we had to calm it down. There was me and Danny Tomo at the back of the stage at one point, calming everything down when the police had totally lost control, and we got there and literally calmed it down in about 3 or 4 minutes flat. Happened actually on a couple of occasions. So I think from the point of view of what the police did in Bristol yesterday, one, I'm going to say something, and I'm going to get absolutely caned by all the feminists in the chat, but there's no way you should have a 5'2" female police sergeant on the front line of a major disturbance, because physically they're not robust enough to take someone clumping them. It's as simple as that. And we had it in Northern Ireland. I remember years ago, there was a woman police officer in Northern Ireland had a concrete block dropped on her head. It nearly killed her. If that had been a normal copper, he'd have been okay, because your neck's stronger, your body's stronger. So that's one thing. And the other thing is they just will not pull the buttons out on Antifa. You know? And I think what Antifa need is absolutely smashed. I think that the police need to steam in there and just crack some skulls and rip the masks off them and arrest them. And I think we also need legislation where if people are wearing masks at an event, they get arrested, because those guys were really getting very violent with the police. I watched it yesterday, watched a lot of that footage yesterday. They were getting extremely violent, and the police, they arrested one person as far as I could see. If that has been our lot, there'd have been facial recognition cameras there, there'd have been kicking people's doors in this morning, and they'd have been smashing them with batons. You know, and that is just two-tier policing, Paul.
Absolutely. And of course, what we've got here is a situation. It's not where they're filming them and going around there in the week and nicking them, because the buggers have got all their faces covered in the first place. I think the old-fashioned saying here, Howard, right, is that they're taking the piss out of the police, and the police are letting them get away with it. Why do they treat these absolute morons with such kid gloves, Howard? I mean, are they afraid of them?
Well, I to be honest, I mean, it's further up the chain of command, isn't it? And how far it goes is simple as that. I mean, we mustn't upset the left wing. We mustn't upset if you're an Islamic or a Muslim supporter, if you support Palestine. We've got to keep them on side. And that's a simple thing. We are easy to police. I mean, it's a shame that when they're policing our side, and I hate this divisive, this description. They have flat jackets on. They got more kit on and all the other bits and pieces. But if you notice yesterday, when they're policing in Bristol, they haven't got the same sort of stuff. They were policing old age pensioners and disabled people in front of the stage when we're at the United Kingdom rally. But it's got it. Your question is a fair one. but it's got to come from the top. It's coming from the Home Office. It's coming from the Met Police bosses, or in Bristol, it's coming from the National Police. They seem to be getting together and actually saying one simple thing, that is, don't upset the people that the Antifas and the left wingers. That's as simple as that.
I mean,
I totally agree. Totally agree with that, Howard. I think that's the issue. The issue is the leaders, the managers, the inspectors, the chief constables are all lefties. That's the problem. It's been totally subverted by Common Purpose, by the Fabians and the communists, and that's the problem. We've been taken over by communists, and that's why we need Advance. That's why we need Advance.
And what I can't understand is, I mean, I've watched a couple of the videos. I didn't want to nick anyone's content tonight. Howard, could you just turn your volume down a little bit, my friend, because we're getting a bit of feedback.
Okay, hang on a sec.
Thank you, mate. I tell you what it is that listening to the way the police officers talk to Antifa as well, and then the way they talk to that'll teach you to have McDonald's before you go live.
Don't ever call me out for being not professional ever again, Paul, okay? Don't ever come on my channel and do that, mate.
Oh, hold on a minute. Yeah, it's the way they, there's a few hundred people sitting at home laughing now. You do realise that, don't you? We're all only human. So, you know, the way they talk to Antifa and the lefties, and the way they talk to our lot, the way they talk to the social media guys, it's stark contrast. It's clearly evident. Now, I can't imagine a situation ever where they would allow people on the right, let's call them people on the right for, you know, ease of terms, if you like. I cannot ever imagine a scenario with where the police would allow hands-on pushing and shoving. And at times, when the police are sort of pushing them back and not hitting them exactly, they're doing exactly the same back to the police, and they're getting away with it. And it's just a completely, for me, I just don't understand it. I mean, come on, you police officers out there, men or mouse. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'll tell you what, I was in Benidorm earlier, and there was a couple of guys. I don't know what they've been doing. I think I know. I think they might have been selling a bit of, you know, whatever.
Wacky backy.
Yeah, and you should have seen the way the police got hold of them. They was on the floor. They were both handcuffed. One of them was sitting on this guy's legs. There was about 8 of them there. They were getting roughed up, right? They wouldn't stand for this nonsense. If you was to lay a single hand on a copper out here, you're straight down the neck.
Well, I'm not
quite
sure.
Rightly so.
I'm not sure how many police were there at the Bristol thing. I mean, I didn't see a huge amount there, and obviously, these left wingers, this Antifa, whatever you want to call them, are very well organised. And you know, I think they get together. This is what we're going to do. And they probably choose 5 or 6 guys. Yeah. Right, you cause some trouble up front, but if you get picked upon, we'll make sure we're steam in. And the police aren't. I mean, they're supposedly training riot control, but I'm afraid I don't see it anymore. And your point, Richard, you're dead right. You know, when you've got a 5'4", 5'10", well, I don't know what they are, but I don't think women should be in the front line. And that's not being sexist. I just think it's unfair, especially if they're not protected with the right kit. And
no, Richard, Howard,
water cannons.
The 5'4" people you were talking about were the men.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Unfortunately,
and
yes.
You're not far wrong. I saw some of those men there, and they weren't up for it, Paul. Some of those officers were like, "No, I don't think." They weren't really. I mean, I remember when we had riots across in Northern Ireland. Obviously, I was in the military, not in the police. But mate, we just used to steam in, and I mean, believe you me, the streets were cleared pretty quickly. And if it got really messy, we started firing plastic bullets at people. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, it was a totally different way of dealing with stuff. If there's any disorder, it got absolutely smashed.
Well, what happened to water cannons?
Well, we still have them.
We sold them, didn't we? Sell them?
Boris bought 4 or 5 in London, didn't he?
Yeah. I think that one of them's down in Dublin, and we've got 2 or 3 over in Northern Ireland. But having said that, when the riots were on in Ballymena, the police really didn't know what to do there either. they totally made a mess of them. You know, I mean, they didn't take the high ground. They didn't, you know, there didn't seem to be any strategy. You know, so I think a lot of policing's got very soft and very limp wristed, and they're terrified of hurting people. You know, they're terrified of you know.
Yeah, like Balula says, and the police in Bristol were picking on citizen journalists again, including young Bob. Look, I think the bottom line is this. There's a couple of phases to this situation. First of all, I don't believe that a lot of the police are up to the job in the first place. Now, they're you know, they're very up to the job. I mean, when it comes to arresting someone like Danny at the airport, or, you know, myself going back through Gatwick, well, that's simple. That's an easy job. You know, a 2 foot nothing, you know, can do that because we're going to be compliant.
Yeah, you don't pose a physical threat.
We don't pose a physical threat. As soon as there's a physical threat involved, they're not up to the job. That's my humble opinion. And when you look at the way they deal with these people, who are mostly unemployed, unwashed, you know, I just don't know how they're letting them get away with it. I really don't understand it. And it's all about the threat. They know who poses the threat. And they won't deal with it. They're frightened to deal with it.
Paul, that's exactly right. When we did the demo in Trafalgar Square in July last year, I set the police, said, look, what happens if we get some Antifa turning up? Said, whoever has the biggest numbers wins. That's what the cop said to me. It's not, and that is their doctrine. They call it numbers. So if you can put 100,000 people on the pavement like we did, and 1 million people like we did in September, you win the day. And it's literally whoever has the most bodies on the ground. That's why when they police these Hamas demonstrations, they haven't policed them properly, and they've pushed the Jews about, and they've pushed the counter protesters about and bullied them, because the people who have the biggest numbers are the Islamists and the leftists. But I don't know if we want to talk about this now very quickly, Paul, but there's a very interesting thing happening with the U Party, or the Your Party, whatever they call it. The Islamists have pulled out. The Islamists are pulling out of Hezbollah. So that's they'll
go over to the Greens, I reckon, now.
Well, I think they'll either go to the Greens, or they might even set up their own party, which is really, really good.
I think that's more likely, Richard. I think so. Likely. I think, you know, there are quite a few independent sort of Muslim characters that are in the Green Party, but I heard that too. But Your Party, the Hezbollah Party, I mean, it's complete and utter shambles, isn't it? Especially financially.
Shambolic. Yeah. And that's, I mean, I want to see, having said that, I want to see the left-wing vote split, sliced and diced as much as possible. So I want to see the Your Party really strong. I want to see the Greens really strong. I want to see some Islamist group really strong, because that will just destroy the Labour Party. It means the left will, if the left is sliced and diced, and the Islamists will never compromise with Hezbollah now. So that's that. If that's broken, that means all the people that are complaining, saying Advance is going to split the vote on the right, it doesn't matter, because you know, we could, if we get our act together, we could really absolutely smash it. And I think I've been hammering this, as you know, Paul, for weeks now. The only thing that's important now, and I love demonstrations. I don't want people to misunderstand me. I'm not saying stop doing demonstrations. I love demos. I'll do demos all day. We're going to do this carol service in London. The little Christmas thing that we're doing with Tommy. We're going to do the big one next spring, which is going to be fantastic. But the focus to me, Paul, for every single person, YouTubers, activists, patriots, is get behind Advance UK and smash reform. And if you're a reform person, just leave reform and join Advance UK now, because you will leave them eventually and you will join us. So you might as well do it now and get yourself a good position.
Just want to go back to that image again, Richard. Sorry to keep putting it up. I mean, you spoke about water cannon, about numbers. Yeah. Look, what have we got in front of us here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's about 20 of them, right? They're all still trying to, you know, grow a moustache. They're not a threat. They're not a physical.
No, there was quite a lot. There was quite a lot more than that, Paul. There was a lot more than that. There was. I'd say there was probably 200 altogether of the Antifa.
I'll tell you what, 5 lads of anything about them and go through that lot in about 30 seconds flat.
Oh, listen, if we let our football lads loose on them, they'd be, it'd all be over in 10 seconds. That would be it. Like,
So the police,
Well,
the police
I-
are out there.
I come from the school of the Ant Middleton thing, where you bring the veterans in again, and let them go for it, and go on, boys, go for it. I mean, and I'm not talking. I'm not talking about veterans over 50 or 60. I'm talking veterans, 35, 40, that sort of thing, and they would sort them out.
I'll tell you what.
Listen, I'm 57. Believe you me, this veteran would go in there swinging. I'm telling you.
Me too, and I'm 71. I'd be in there with you.
Should we
No
go
problem, Howard.
Let's go into a little bit of fantasy realm just for a couple of minutes. Can you imagine a new task force made up of vets who are tasked to go out there and control these lefty crowds? Oh.
Well, listen,
it's interesting because, as you know, I stood for London Mayor and failed abysmally, but because I didn't get any support from Reform. But that's another matter. But one of my policies was actually to bring. I mean, Ant Middleton's made it a bit more public about the thing, but I was talking about going to retired police officers, retired policemen, and people that in their training corps, in all those sorts of things. Come on, and reservists, all that lot. Come out, and you called it, as you say, a special group. It wouldn't cost a lot of money because most of them would be happy to do it.
They do it for free.
Oh, I would do it. It's not if they paid my expenses. I'd be on a plane tomorrow. You know what I mean, Richard? There's your baton, there's your helmet. Listen. But do you know what? I actually was mentioning this to someone in advance. I'm not going to say who, but I have produced a little document for a group called the Home Defence Regiment, which would be a regiment of the British Army, part-time, like the UDR was in Northern Ireland, 30,000 part-timers made up of veterans, ex-police, ex-army, ex-prison officers who are still fit enough and able enough to do it. You have the entry level up till about 65 years old. That means I can still get in. And you just you just do it, and Howard, I think it's going to be needed. Unfortunately, I think we're going to need that.
Absolutely.
If we're going to prevent civil war, we're going to need to have a very beefed up internal security regime within the UK. Unfortunately, I don't like it, but it's just what's going to have to happen.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, there was a couple of police officers amongst that crowd yesterday. I haven't screenshotted them because, look, out of respect, they're doing a job, they're at work, they got families. I don't want to pick on any officers in particular. I don't think that's Richard's laughing. No, I'm not going to do it, Richard. It wouldn't be. It's not very gentlemanly, and they're doing a job, right? But mate, I can't believe the state of them. When I say the state of them, the uniforms don't fit, and the reason the uniforms don't fit, they haven't got any uniforms that are that small.
Yeah, I think that's true. I love that, Paul.
Paul, do you know what we used to call them in the military, Paul? We used to call them a pirate's dream. They had a sunken chest.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect. I mean, look, everyone knows their limitations, right? I mean, I'm past it, right? I mean, I'd be no good at crowd control at my age, although if we set up that defence system, I might be tempted to come home and join, even though I'm not a vet. But you get the point, and that is why I haven't shown photographs of these officers, because I don't want to be little individuals. It's not polite, and they got families, right? But
it's so much
joke. It's just a joke.
It so much depends on motivation because if someone touched your grandchildren, you go berserk, wouldn't you? If someone touched my daughter, my wife, or anything like that, even my dog. These sorts of things, that sort of thing. And I don't think these police are motivated. What they're motivated is sitting behind a desk, punching a keyboard. That's what they're used to. A lot of those people, they're called out, oh, God, we're coming out this weekend. We've got to look at this Antifa, we've got, etc. And all those Palestinian protests, which are every weekend in London. I've seen so many. I go to London on, with the campaigning and doing other things, etc. I mean, for example, this Thursday, I'm going to Liz Truss's. I've been invited to Liz Truss's Growth Commission review of the budget to come. But an hour later, I'm going to the Pink Ladies outside the Home Office. So
I'll tell you, you're around a lot of women, Howard. You're around a lot of women. I don't know if Mrs. Cox is still watching there, but yeah. Let's keep her eye on you. Pink Ladies, Liz Truss. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Jenny's actually says it's going all over her head as she's holding a bottle of whiskey in her hand.
Oh dear, bless her.
No,
Well,
but
she's got
seriously, it's that motivation. You see,
Yeah.
I mean, when I was standing, for London Mayor, I spoke to loads of police, obviously, because I was going to be their boss. And I spoke to them. I said, "What do you really want?" They all said the same thing. No, I don't think there's one, example. Otherwise, they all want to get out from behind a desk and stop filling in forms. They want to catch criminals. And I think that mindset, unfortunately, has been lost by a lot of them. I speak to police a lot these days, and when they say, "Oh, how's your day been?" "Oh, I've done a lot of filing. I've done a lot of this," and I said, "Have you sort of caught a criminal, or have you interviewed criminals, or have you catching what? No, no, no. It's always the answer.
I think a lot of it's to do with. Sorry, I think a lot of it's to do with the people having to have a degree to get in the police now. I think that's just the most ridiculous idea. When I was in the military, a lot of my mates went and joined the police after they left the military. I was too much of a bad boy, so I had too much of a blotted copybook to do that. But but a lot of them went and did that, joined the police, and because it was a natural progression. You've done the military, okay? What do I do next? Oh, I'll be a copper. Do you know what I mean?
That for me, they're always the best.
Always. Of course,
yeah,
absolutely.
Always.
And I mean, when we were in Northern Ireland, we loved a riot. People, we were never scared. We loved it because it was you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old
that's
kid.
what you're trained for, isn't it?
That's what you're trained for. You want a bit of aggro. In fact, you got bored if there weren't. Well, I'm not going to say what you'd maybe provoke a riot if there wasn't one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but Richard, I think that's a very good point. But your bosses were supporting you, though.
Yeah,
nowadays, police now, it's like people carrying guns now. If they shoot someone a mistake or something like that, you see what happens. And look what all the it better than anyone, Richard. You know what's happening with ex servicemen in Northern Ireland who are being prosecuted. Whereas the IRA get away with it.
I mean, this is a real problem for morale in the military. The way the SAS have been treated is I mean, look, the SAS and the intelligence services in Northern Ireland won that war without, and now since Blair, I always say that Blair snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. There was a victory in Northern Ireland, military victory. The IRA were on the knees, the Republicans were on the knees, and the Blair Witch Project basically sold the whole thing out and turned something that could have been made Northern Ireland a lot more stable than it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's peaceful and that's all great, but it could have been a lot more stable if the lads had been allowed to do a lot more of what they were doing best. And it's very, very sad, to be honest with you. And you imagine somebody that was in the SAS. He's at the peak of his military career. I worked with the SS a few times, and they were absolutely incredible. They were totally professional. Just made us look like Boy Scouts, really. And these guys getting dragged through the courts, they are not guilty of murder. It is an absolute travesty. And the one that they're talking about now, the Loughgall ambush. I was on an OP in South Armagh when the contact report came in from that ambush, and I know what happened on that operation, and there's no way that those guys are guilty of murder. Think about it, right? A bomb had gone off in the police station, right? They actually managed to drive the bomb into the police station. 2 policemen and SES soldiers were seriously injured in that attack. They returned fire. They killed all the terrorists. They killed a couple of civilians that drove into the killing area. It wasn't murder. It was a very, very professional military operation that had to be taken because these people were highly dangerous terrorists.
It's casualties of war. That's what happened. And we were at war with the IRA. It's as simple as that. I mean, I went to Northern Ireland a lot in business. I was in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
I stayed in the Europa Hotel lots of times. You know that one very well. And I remember one day a bomb went out outside and the window glass came in across my bed.
Yeah.
And suddenly there was a knock on my door. I was about the 7th floor. And this policeman came and said, anyone in there? I said, all right, okay, no problem. Stay there. Don't move. We'll come back and let you out. And I thought, bloody hell. And I was shitting myself. And I was about 25, 26 at the time. And I'm not joking, but I had nothing but respect for those people there, the people you're talking about, because they were doing a job to protect us and give us back, making sure that Northern Ireland remained part of the UK.
Sorry, I'm not. Guys, I'm not. I'm not laughing at what you're talking about. I'm laughing at the comments. I think that unscripted burp has brought more comments than anything else we've said.
More tea, Vicar.
No, I mean, no, but no, you're absolutely right, Howard. I mean, that, and it was, the reality is those guys kept not just the people in Northern Ireland safe, they kept politicians on the mainland safe. The winning of the intelligence war, and that was rolled out when all the war on terror happened. Those principles that were used by the SAS and the intelligence services in Northern Ireland were rolled out on steroids right the way across Iraq and Afghanistan, and again did a lot to curtail Al Qaeda and ISIS and what have you. So I just think it's taken liberties, and apparently a lot of the SAS guys are resigning. They're worried about what's going to happen if they go on operations, and you're losing the cream of the cream of the crop. It's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Jackie Lee, she says, Richard, this is a great one. Took your advice Friday, all the leaflets from Advance, got 5 more on board, time to step up, bit towards the puzzle pool. Thank you very much, Jackie. Brilliant, by the way. That is absolutely brilliant.
Advance is going through the roof in Northern Ireland. I mean, I've been pushing it like mad. We've got, I think, 600 members at least. I think we'll have 1,000 by Christmas. It's absolutely it's on fire. And these are all working class, people, Protestants and Catholics, from all different backgrounds that just know that there's something wrong. And it's going to be a lot more difficult to win seats in Northern Ireland probably than anywhere else because of the makeup of Northern Ireland. But people don't care. They're just saying, do you know what? It's the right thing to do, and we're going to join. Because I tell you one thing that the British people in Northern Ireland do really well is patriotism.
Yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got 2,252 people watching, guys. Please don't forget, give me an upvote. I know it's boring, keep asking, but it really means a lot. And it really helps the stream. Cal says Bristol has been taken over by communists.
But it's not the only town or city in this country. I mean, as you know, I fight on behalf of drivers. There's so many anti-driver policies across the country, and they're trying to, as I said, the narrowing of roads and that sort of thing, the LTNs, the huge cycle lanes, the restrictions, the congestion charges, ULEZs, you name it. All these sorts of things are part of the policy to stop us driving and control our lives. And then it's going to be pay per mile, which is all linked to digital ID, and etc. It goes on forever. We are being controlled, and this is the communist approach. This is how they do it. They're infiltrating, and obviously the left wingers are being, recruited even more so from Islamic states. They're coming in here. They're taking over our country, and I think I can't remember who said it, but I think by 2060 there'll be more Muslims in this country than there will be indigenous Brits. It's a big worry, and that's why I'm fighting. I said this to you before. I should be tending my petunias, and but I always remember one comment you made, Paul. I think I was listening about 30 or shows ago. I can't remember you on it. He said, "Oh, Howard Cox is a good bloke. He's such a fun-loving granddad, or something." You said, and we
all are.
I know exactly. But the interesting thing is, though, I never got so many affectionate emails after that, feeling sorry for me. But anyway, so just going back to next Sunday, by the way, if people want to join us, we're having a protest in Crowborough, and what's happening in Crowborough, of course, is the
I do.
Yeah, and
there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Today, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, that's today. That's the headlines from the Daily Mail. But I don't know if you saw it video, but I made a little video about that a couple of days back. I mean, obviously, I'm on the side of the good people of Crowborough, of course, because the good people of Crowborough are on our side, we're on their side. But there's a bit of irony going on here, because there's a lot of people in that area, and I know the area quite well. It's kind of not far from where I used to live. It's halfway in between sort of Brighton and East Grinstead area. There's a lot of lefties up there.
Well, I lived there and I got married there, and Jarvis Brook Station, which is just down the bottom of the hill in Crowborough. As you say, it's between East Grinstead and Tunbridge Wells. It's near the Ashdown Forest. I was a member of Crowborough Golf Club and all those sorts of things. And I know this camp, this army camp, where they're going to move 600 people into. And there's a very good friend of ours she's 93, and she's about 50 yards from the front gates, and she's worried sick. This sort of thing. And as you know, the Green Council, you know, person, the deputy to the Green Party, she lives there, and she's welcoming immigrants everywhere except there. She's complaining. She's written to stop it. So the hypocrisy. And I agree with you. Where you're going on this, Paul. You know, you invite what you actually sowed.
You reap what you sow. I mean, let me tell you this, guys. Right, over the weekend, let me think. Over the weekend, I've probably bumped into about half a dozen couples out here in Benidorm who watch the channel. I'm talking couples now, right? Every single one of them, every single time, the women always say, "I'm too frightened to go out anymore."
Yeah.
They all, how the hell have we allowed to get ourselves into a situation where our women, and these are all, I say all, they're mostly sort of middle-aged, 50-ish or thereabouts, give or take a weekend, and they're all scared to go out.
Yeah. What
the hell have we done to our country to get into that sort of situation? It is an absolute disgrace. Sydney says it's the Cannon and Ball show again, Burp. I'll tell you what, I might have to mute the mic again in a minute. Cyberstorm, New Culture Forum, recent Emma Webb video. I highly recommend. Great speech regarding the takeover of our country and how we all feel. Thank you very much, Cy Harris. Cy Harris, good evening, gents. Good evening, Cy. Gloria Cornerways, buy some flatulence tablets.
Oh, for God's sake.
She wants, do you know what she wants? She wants more flatulence, Paul. She wants tablets that make you burp, mate. That's the problem. But do you know what, Paul? To be honest with you, I think the whole thing with all this is, and I keep saying it on my channel, and I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. I say it probably 20 times a day. We have the toolbox, but nobody's putting their hands in the toolbox and taking the tools out. We have the pledge. We have Unite the Kingdom, and most importantly of all, we have Advance UK. Howard was saying about Ben. You know, Ben has set that party up so that if he fails, he will fail and he will get kicked out, right? And he's not set it up because he's got some sort of weird sadomasochistic thing going on. He set it up like that because, you know,
there is no other party in the UK that has that structure whereby the leader has set up a situation whereby if he doesn't perform, he goes. You couldn't imagine that with Nigel or Zia, could you? Those two, no. I mean, I regularly do that. I mean, I'm on lots of WhatsApp groups. I'm still on a fair number of residual reform groups. And today I got into a bit of a heated thing with quite a well-known social media lady. I won't say who it is, but you might be able to guess it. But she's very anti-Ben and Advance UK, and she's basically in love with Nigel. And
we know exactly who you mean.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
and I'm going to say it's not Katie Hopkins. It's not Katie.
No, Katie. We love Katie.
Katie's great. Katie's great.
But she is blonde.
But they
she is
the
blonde,
point.
but not Katie.
They still believe, and she's actually peddling this nasty rumor. You know that Ben's taking money from the public. He's got no MPs and all that sort of thing, and just rubbishing us. And I'm very polite back and everything because I know this particular group. Actually, Nigel's on this group, for this WhatsApp group. So I'm just keeping a low profile and watching what's been said. But the underlying feeling is, you can see it's a bit like GB News, a bit like Talk TV. And when I filmed Plank last week, I was in Talk TV and I spoke to a lot of producers there, and they're okay with Ben. They love Ben. There's no problem with that. It's further up the tree. And where's that tree being controlled by? A certain Nigel Farage.
Absolutely. But, you know, here's the thing, though. Look, I mean, talking about social media influencers, and I said this on Friday. I didn't name them on Friday night because I didn't want to burn Paul's channel, because I think we were streaming on both channels. And I'm not going to name them tonight. But I named them on my own channel on Friday morning. And I don't care because, look, at the end of the day, I'm not in this to make friends. If people do not back Advance UK, and it's on the tip of my tongue to say who, but some of the biggest YouTubers that there are in our space are not backing Ben. They promised to back Ben. They've reneged on that. They need to get a grip of themselves, because Advance is the only party that's going to save this country. Everybody knows Reform are just controlled opposition. And again, to people in Reform, leave Reform now and join Advance before it's too late.
I think actually it's important to recognise that a lot of these big YouTubers, who I know who you're talking about, and that they're good people, and but fundamentally they rely on income, and some of that's advertisers will actually dictate what you could, how you position yourself. It's a bit like Fairfield UK. I had to keep that campaign apolitical, and for me to move into reform and stand for as London Mayor and also as an MP down in Dover. That was a difficult decision for me, and I got slated by a lot of my supporters. I'm not supporting a political party. I'm supporting a guy that's campaigning to give me cheaper fuel. So there's a balancing act on here. But I do agree. Those that promised to support Ben, I'm very, very upset with, and I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be honest with you. I was approached the week before last by someone that wanted to sponsor my channel, but wouldn't because I'm not supporting reform.
Yeah, that's the point. I think you'll find, because reform is so high up in the polls at the moment, we're looking at 33, 35%. They're liable to get a big majority, all that sort of thing. It's a bit like the Sun. They bet on winners. They bet on Blair. They bet on Starmer. That when it suited them, those are the sorts of things we were up against. And my big worry, and I had a real go at two producers who are quite good friends. I've been on doing this for 15 years. I've grown up with them in the campaign with them, and they've actually said, there's no way you've been cancelled, Howard. I promise you that. I said, what about Ben? And they go quiet. And I said, come on, what's it all about? And both of them say it's come from above. And someone's pulling the strings, and there can only be one string. I mean, I get disappointed with GB News now. I mean, I thought they really were the future for us, and helping with Ben on there 3 times a week. I was on there once every fortnight or something like that. It went very, very well, and with Rupert, etc. But now we're in a situation whereby it's totally and utterly a reform channel.
Well, what we need is we need all our viewers to be writing emails to.
I'm just going to say that, Paul. You took the words out of my mouth there, Paul.
And GB News, and say, look, we want to see Ben Habib back on the show. That is the way forward, because look, ultimately, all the time they're not getting any complaints. They're not going to do anything about it, are they? Ish 1989 advanced leaflets need handing out at demos and football. Couldn't agree more.
Good idea.
Great call.
Cal, we will be fleeing to Antarctica at this rate. Bloody hell, I wouldn't be. It's too cold for me. Paula, thank you. SNP trying to legalise sex-based abortions. Guess who is the only birthing males?
Yeah, we get that. What that one's about.
Jamie Rangers, we are true patriots. All right, gents. Richard, you were talking about Loughgall, the government challenging inquest to Cluno 2. Yes, you'll have to read them words out, mate. They shouldn't be on trial for saving people's lives.
It's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But getting back to the advance thing, Paul, I mean, the reality is that everybody that's in this chat, if they all wrote to GB News and Talk TV, it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference if they get, and maybe we should do some demos outside, like Nick Tenconi did. We should do some demos outside Talk TV and outside GB News, demanding that they give Ben a voice. Because like I say, they have this weird limp-wristed guy that's from some sort of Green Party. It's like an offshoot of the Green Party. He's absolutely pathetic. He talks absolute nonsense. He's probably got 6 people in his party, and he's getting head time on GB News. It's ridiculous.
Well, how about this? I'll tell you what we'll do. Before we go any further, I'm going to pop the email address to GB News in the chat. The email address for GB News is in the chat, and I'll actually go one better than that. Hold on one second. Let me just there we go.
Yep.
gbviews@gbnews.uk. gbviews@gbnews.uk, and they say this is for feedback and comments on our programs.
And can I suggest that everybody, when they do it, they all say "Bring back Ben." They have "Bring back Ben" in the tagline of it. That's a nice little tag. Bring back Ben.
My only advice about doing that is because I, for example, I've got 18,000 of my supporters have emailed their MP in the last 90 hours, that sort of thing. Make sure you are not abusive. You know,
Yeah,
just say,
absolutely.
look, you can say something along the lines of, Ben Habib, I support the Advanced UK Party. Why are you not giving it more coverage? And
Yeah,
particularly,
yeah,
why isn't Ben Habib on there? Say it in a
yeah,
nice way. And
yeah,
if you do the attacking way, I promise you,
yeah, it
it
won't
doesn't.
work. Yeah, Sydney says they don't answer you, Paul. I've written loads of complaints to GB News, but you know,
Keep doing it.
pressure does bring results. So I'm going to leave that up there for a moment, right,
Yeah.
guys? Let's get on to the big topic of the, you know what, the main topic, which we've left it kind of late, but I'm sure we'll enjoy it. These are the front-running sharks. I love that picture of Wes Street in there. He'd scare the life out of Putin, wouldn't he? Look at him, look. Oh,
Yeah.
Shabana Mahmood could scare the life out of anyone. Well, Angela Rayner, well, she looks a bit like Freddie out of that film. What was that film?
Well, all of them look like serial killers.
So the question is, the question that I left earlier was, who is the best of a very bad bunch? Shabana Mahmood got 24% of the votes. Andy Burnham got 35%. Wes Streeting 30%. And Angela Rayner 10. Now, it appears, to be fair, maybe this was my wording, that some people didn't quite get what I meant. But let me start with you, Richard. Out of those 4 great whites that are circling around the...
Well, they're not all great whites, are they, Paul? But anyway, that's another story. But the
who would you like to see replace?
I'd like to see for our side, for winning the next election, I want to see Banana Mahmood as Prime Minister, because I think that will freak everybody out. The only worry if Banana Mahmood gets it is all the Muslims will then jump across and vote for the Labour Party the next election. So that is a bit of a worry, because I'd rather have the Labour vote completely atomized and go for, Better Call Afzal and his lot in Birmingham. You know what I mean? So Banana Mahmood, or I'm trying to think who's the most feckless. I would say probably Wes Streeting after Banana Mahmood, because he's pretty pathetic as well. I think Burnham and Rayner could actually be a bit of a threat at an election because they're a bit populist. If they got the right sort of lingo going and did something about migration, they might be a threat to us at the next election. So I think Banana or Wes would be the best ones to get us to completely destroy the Labour Party.
Howard, your views on that?
Me, yeah.
Sorry, Howard.
I was dropping off to sleep actually with those 4. You see, that's what they do to me. They're very soporific to me. But I mean, Andy Burnham is a very bright cookie. There's no doubt about it. But he's got to be an MP for a start. He can't. He hasn't got. He's mayor of Manchester, as you know. And Angela Rayner is probably the most popular in the Labour Party, because did you when she did her resignation speech after she was basically dropped as a deputy prime minister and the leader or leader of the House, she the whole of the Labour Party bench turned up and listened, and that is unusual to see for a resignation speech, that sort of thing. It didn't happen with people like Theresa May. When the Tories it was about half full, that sort of thing. So, but I wouldn't like to see Mahmood. I wouldn't like to see her involved. And Wes Streeting is probably the one. I mean, I'm quite liking his way he's talking, even though he's actually brought it on himself, taking on the British Medical Association at the moment, and with these strikes, etc. But of all the 4, if you had to nail me to my colours, I would actually go for Wes Streeting.
Now, the danger for me, my view on this is the 2 most dangerous candidates out of those 4 for me is Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham. Because really? I believe that, well, I'll tell you why. I believe they're capable of hoodwinking more people than the other 2. I don't think that Rayner or Mahmood can hoodwink the nation, just like Starmer hasn't been able to hoodwink them. I don't think they've got what it takes. The people will go against either of those 2. The trouble with Burnham and Streeting is that from a what's the right word I'm looking for? I don't even know who I'm talking about now, but from a general population view, just your average Mr. and Mrs. Smith that lives at number 75, that has no idea about politics. I think Burnham and Wedge Street, you know, perhaps, if it's the right word, a bit more likable.
Yeah,
And
I think
dangerous.
I think you're quite right about that. There's the other thing, Matter, to think about. That Labour's never had a female leader.
Yeah.
Never had one. And that's
or a Muslim leader.
Or a Muslim. And what we need is, let's make no mistake, guys, this is just my view for what it's worth. Let me know what you think in the chat, because I may well be wrong. You nearly got another one then. I think it's that bottle of water. We must let Starmer, or at least let Labour, finish the job that they've started of ending socialism in this country, hopefully forever.
Well, I mean, the problem is, Paul, that the evidence is going in the opposite direction, both in America and here. I just want to quote something that somebody said in the comments. They said about Banana Mahmood. They said, she's got a face that would buckle a bucket.
Yeah.
I like that. That's got to be a Northern Ireland person. I've never heard that anywhere before, but a face that'll buckle a bucket. But no, I think socialism's, unfortunately, socialism is quite, populist socialism is quite strong. And that's what we've got to be very, very careful of. If some of these socialists could work out how to get a grip of the or have an appearance of getting a grip of the migration situation, and then start offering freebies to a whole lot of people. Oh, I've just disappeared. Then start offering freebies to a whole lot of people. Then I think we've got a massive, massive problem.
Well, this is what Mahmood is doing here. Look, she bids to look tough on borders. Shabana Mahmood says Channel boat migrants must wait 20 years for a golden ticket, right to stay permanently. So what does that mean? They're going to be here 20 years before they eventually get their right to stay permanently, and could be sent back if home countries get safer. I mean, what a crock of shit that is.
Exactly.
20 years. So, you know, I mean, I've only got a 3-year visa if I decide to stay in Spain, and I'm here legally.
Oh, well, this is the point. You know, you're looking at temporary is the word they use, but they're talking about 20 years being temporary. I don't get it either. I don't know how it's going to work. And you hear Ben say it. I've said it as well when I talk and everything like this. Let's, for Christ's sake, put the bloody Navy in the English Channel, stop those boats coming across. If they did that, if Mahmood actually did that, I'd have a lot of respect for her. Just do it. No mucking about. You don't have to be liked, etc. It happened in all other countries. It's happened in, you know, look at the guy, you know, from Hungary and the guy from Poland. Those two, they got virtually zero immigration coming in because they got strong borders, and they haven't even got a water around them. We should be being protected with our moat. I think you said the other night. I was listening to you too.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, these four people are honestly useless, inept politicians. They are purely in it for themselves. If I mean, let's wake up to what Keir Starmer gets up every morning. His polls are dropping, his popularity is dropping every morning. But you know, Morgan McSweeney's, you know, and his little group around him, you know, saying you're great, you're wonderful. That's what he believes. If he truly cares about this country, he would resign, because that is the point at the moment. The economy's a mess, immigration's a mess, crime is a mess. All of these things are adding up to things it should. And when I was actually interviewed to the college, one of the things which I think was quite popular with some of the reasons why I was accepted in the college is that if you break your manifesto pledges, there should be a general election. And I really believe that. I mean, there's no point in having a piece of paper say this is what you're going to do. There is no reason why you should break your manifesto promises. And these four people are, you know, very much part of a broken manifesto pledge set of them. And that's why there's no one in their party that I respect. I used to respect Dennis Skinner and Wedgie Ben, you know, true, honest socialists who really, you know, the beast of Bolsover. I mean, I went up there many times, to do things with Fairfield UK. And I have to give Dennis Skinner his due. He used to say, and I love the way he used to say it, said, hey, you're Mr. Fairfield UK, aren't you? He said, you're not bad, buddy, because you look after my constituents because they need their cars. You know, he was a decent, honest guy you could talk with. Okay, I don't like the fact that, you know, he was probably supporting the Palestinians more. But when you've got people like Jeremy Corbyn, who I think is the most dishonest politician on the planet, some people are saying he's an honest guy, but he's not.
He's
He
evil.
is so devious. And that guy, was it Iqbal Mohammed, who spoke, said he's going to take over Birmingham, and that thing. And Jeremy Corbyn was at that thing. He was sitting there next to him.
He was.
Why didn't he stand up and say, "No, this is our country. You're not taking it over"? He didn't.
No, exactly.
Sorry,
but I mean that whole project's falling apart. But I think I just keep. I mean, again, without wanting to sound repetitive, but I think I've been deliberately repetitive. The only hope we've got is advance. It's the only hope. And I mean, so we can, to be honest, we can look at all these things. I'd rather be saying, okay, well, what are advance going to do? There was somebody asked about policy in the chat. Now, obviously, you guys on the college will know a lot more than I do. But from what I can gather, there's some amazing policies being worked on in the background. So very soon there will be a full portfolio, a full, what's the word I'm looking for? You just said it, Howard. Manifesto. There'll be a full manifesto, a full manifesto cost and everything. So the reality is, pretty soon people are going to know exactly what advance is all about. But even without a manifesto, we've got nearly 40,000 members without a manifesto, without even being an official party yet. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm on 2 groups at the moment. The policy committee. One of them's, I've joined this week. David Rhodes is setting these things up. David.
Yep.
And I'm on the energy one, which is going to be interesting. Which is obviously going to bring in net zero and that sort of thing, which is close to my heart. I obviously want to be on the transport one when we get to that stage, but that's not important at the moment. The big ones: immigration, cost of living, and net zero energy. Those 3, and they are working 100 mile an hour on that at this very moment. And I'm looking forward to see Paul on one of these soon. I think.
Tuesday. I'm on the immigration policy groups. So,
good.
We're looking forward to making it. To making it public. It's going to be very exciting. Laurie says, loved the video of Peter Bleksley reading the news. I missed that.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Rainbows Cornwall. Good job. There's another Angie Rayner.
Someone needs to be reaching out to Peter Bleksley from Advance. He needs to get on board.
Can I come on that Angie Rayner one? Sorry, I've got to say that one. Let me just say, I've got a little. Let me just get this from my WhatsApp here. Talk amongst yourselves. She said to me, I can't run. Oh, there it is. I'm only watching tonight if you give Angie's Wakey group a shout out. Well, Angie, I've done it. And she said, I'm serious. If you don't talk about me, I'm never speaking to you again. So put a donation into Paul. He needs the money.
This is another Angie Rayner, is it?
Yeah, exactly. She's on a group. She's a good. She's in a group called Wakey, and it's
I remember it.
Yeah. Can I just comment? Somebody put in the comments, Richard, you were passionate about UKIP. Well, I've been passionate about UKIP twice, and they failed both occasions I was passionate about them. So I'm never going to go there again with UKIP. UKIP are not going to win anything. They won't even win a lucky prize. They won't even win a ballot. So forget about UKIP. They've not got the members. They're running around the country doing these demos. They're achieving absolutely nothing apart from a bit of publicity for Nick Tenconi. So I'm done with playing games. Advance UK is the only show in town. I'm going to be totally ruthless in promoting them over and above every other party, and that's just the way it is. So sorry, Minx. That's my answer to you.
And that's no slant on, from my viewpoint at all, no slant on UKIP or the people that are supporting UKIP, but they've got to be realistic. They have to be, and they're probably the same people that talk about splitting the vote as well. I mean, come on, guys. In advance, we have a very tangible chance of achieving something. But I go back to that big jigsaw that I spoke about. We need to keep chipping away at that jigsaw.
The reason I'm passionate about this is literally we've said it before, but this really is the last chance saloon. And what we have now is a real chance with all the things that we've got there, with the pledge, with Unite the Kingdom, with the resurgence of Christianity, and with Advance UK. And politically, Advance UK is by far the most important show in town, without a shadow of a doubt. So, I'm extremely passionate about it, and I'm not going to shut up about Advance UK until we win the election.
I think it's important that all the viewers should watch the Tommy's recruitment video for Advance UK. I mean, that he summed it up in a nutshell. He's got no axe to grind with anything. He simply said that Ben, he believes in his policies and he trusts the people behind it. Those are very important for me, because that's, people like, obviously you know Tommy better than I do. I've only got to know him in the last sort of 7 or 8 months, but I didn't know anything about that man, because I was being told a lot of rubbish by the mainstream media about him.
Yeah.
And thanks to Paul, I managed to go visit him in prison. And that was probably one of the most inspirational 2 hours of my life. I spoke for 5 minutes listening to Tommy, bless his cotton socks, as you know. And, the guy inspired me. My wife has always said to me, you must look at this Tommy Robinson. And I kept saying, oh, no, he's a terrible person. You mustn't go. I'm told by Richard Tyson, Nigel. Oh, no way. But I went there, went to that prison and sat with that guy. And I watched this video this week, which I think you played, Richard, this week.
We did. We played it on Friday. Yep.
Yeah. And you stopped it a few times in the right places just to talk about what he was saying.
Yeah.
That guy, that is the greatest advert possible for someone who's got millions of people that support him to come over to Advance UK.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, look, people saying in the chat that Nick should come over to Advance. I mean, look.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I have an immense amount of respect for Nick. He gets out there, he does his thing, but ultimately, he could do a lot better by joining Advance. That's just my opinion. And I messaged him a couple of weeks back saying, respects what you're doing, because he had a rough time. I can't remember where it was now, but anyway, look, the bottom line is nothing against Nick, nothing against UKIP, but we're back in Advance and that's it.
I think that, I think Richard is probably the best person to talk about UKIP, but in my experience of UKIP, it's just got that tarnished image for me over the past. There's a lot of things in their manifesto or their direction I totally support. Totally. And Nick Tenconi's got dead right, but they've still got that image. Ben's created a party that is totally and utterly, basically, democratic and honest and principled, and that's no one can touch that at the moment.
That's exactly the point. And I think the reality is, when it comes to UKIP in 2018, we had the chance to do what Advance did, and it was scuppered. Now, there's lots of different people give me different reasons why it was scuppered. I've got my own prejudice, and I believe it was down to Nigel Farage. Whether I'm right or wrong about that, history will tell. But the truth of the matter is, if we'd have been able to push home the advantage we had with UKIP when we had Tommy on board with UKIP, and we had all the football lads and all the veterans and lots of people joining, nowhere near as many as Advance have got, incidentally. I think we got about 3,000 people to join when we were doing the UKIP project. This Advance thing is unheard of, getting so many people to join a party that isn't even registered as a party, that's not even gone through its full registration process yet, is absolutely unheard of. And
I think that's the point, Richard. You got it spot on. As soon as the Electoral Commission give us our certificate that we're a bona fide political party, you watch how many people will move over who are at the moment independents. Independent council. I've spoken to 2 independent councillors myself, just waiting for you to become a political party. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, here's the thing: if the government plays silly beggars on that, then we will have a massive, it will give us a massive PR boost, because we say, hold on a minute, why aren't they allowing us to be a political party? So if there's any foot dragging by the Electoral Commission, that would actually work in our favour. So, I mean, we can't lose on this, Howard. We can't lose. And to be in a position with 40,000 members in such a short space of time is incredible. And remember, that's without any publicity. We haven't been on a single TV channel because we're basically, blackballed for whatever reason from them.
Yeah, but thanks to honestly, thanks to people like you two spreading the word. That is making a huge difference. I promise you that.
Oh, I'm relentless.
Can we play a little game for a moment? I hope Ben wouldn't mind us mentioning this. I'm sure he wouldn't. But can we have a little dabble as to who we would like to see as deputy leader of Advance? Do you have any preferences or anybody in mind, Howard, that you'd like to see? I mean, I've mentioned you before, but let's take out the present company.
I can't vote for myself, but I'm very fond of Jim Ferguson. I've got to know him. He's very measured. He's our international ambassador for the party. But if you look at his
Tim's great. Yeah.
his social media, his tweeted things, he's very, very well connected. I mean, he's very well respected, especially in European, Eastern sort of bloc countries. I call them that, like East Germany areas and Germany itself and Poland and Hungary and all those sorts of things. And he's very well connected in America. There's loads of good people there. I mean, people like Richard Taylor. He's leader of the Welsh thing. There's no one more enthusiastic than that man. He's got a stick of dynamite up his backside. He just doesn't stop. He's fantastic. And of course, there's some good women in there. There's lots of good people.
Richard, if we take, sorry, I should have made myself more clear as well there, Richard. Howard, sorry. What I actually meant was from outside of who we've already got.
I would say what I would like to see, right, and I don't know if this is possible, I would like to see a joint deputy leader role, right? And there's two people that pop into my mind straight away. You'll guess who one of them is. And the reason I want to see a joint deputy leader role is because they will not have the time to devote huge amounts of time to it. It will be basically a tool to bring more people into the party from the right areas. And I would like to see Ant Middleton and Tommy Robinson as joint deputy leader of Advance UK. That's what I would like.
Well, Ant was definitely. I mean, look, I may not have picked Ant before last week, but having sat with him for an hour,
same as I've spoke to him two different occasions. Yep. Very humble man, very intelligent. And do you know the thing about Ant is he's complete opposite to me. I'm like a bull in a china shop. Ant is basically, well, I'm sure it'd be like a bull in a china shop if he was going into some house in Helmand Province with a machine gun, but or with an assault rifle. But the reality is, when you talk to Ant, he's very measured. He listens to every single word you say. He doesn't interrupt, and he's a very, very thoughtful man. So I think Ant Middleton and Tommy with Ben as leader would be a dream ticket. That's my opinion.
He's very understated. I like that. He's very understated. I don't know him that well, but
he's a gentleman.
I tell you the problem with Tommy, and I agree, Richard. I'd love to see Tommy in that position. Would love to, but, and I think Tommy would probably recognise this himself. That is kryptonite for the mainstream media, etc. I mean, they would use that. They would gang up. You know how they would react to that, Richard. Now, whether that will be good for the party long term, personally, I prefer to see him. Well, I prefer to see him up front. I prefer to see him as Prime Minister, but I think it will be better for the country and for the party if Tommy was doing his thing, carrying on with his activism and his journalism, acting as advisor, etc., here, there, and with a big in. But I'd love to see someone like Ant Middleton as deputy leader because he has the personality, he has the brains, he has the connections, he has the people. Look, when someone served in the special forces, people listen.
Yes,
men follow leaders, and I believe that Ant Middleton would bring a whole new demographic to the movement. So I think Ant would be my choice if I'm honest.
I think that you asked outside of what we know, but I'd like to see Rupert Murdoch up there as well.
Rupert Lowe, you mean?
Rupert Murdoch. And then he said Reform Party then as well. I'm knackered, lads.
The problem is if you had Rupert Murdoch there, you'd need a defibrillator there all the time as well, or just some blonde Dolly Bird, trophy wife. You know what I mean?
No, but Rupert, no. Yeah, my wife has just kicked me, and she said, "You stupid ass." But Rupert Murdoch, I like. But you see, I think that there's also a position for chairman. This sort of thing. You've got David Ball as chair of reform and that sort of thing, but he's really in charge of recruitment. This sort of thing, getting people signed up. I mean, you could actually argue that Tommy would be the best person to get more and more members on board, and maybe he should be chair of the party.
I think Tommy needs to have a role in the party that doesn't have to do too much, right? Because
No.
obviously Tommy's busy doing what he's doing all the time. There's always going to be people trying to sue him. There's always going to be having ag all the time. But I think he should have a role where he doesn't have to do much. But at the end of the day, if we win an election, he's going to get a prime seat in a cabinet. You know, so you have a role, and that's why I'm saying you split the deputy leader. So you have Ant Middleton and Tommy, who are both very busy men with their own business interest and what have you.
Would that be a positive? I mean, like, you know, going back to, I mean, look, as I said, let me make it clear for anyone watching. I'd love to see it, but would it be the right thing for the party?
I think it would, and I'll tell you why. Right, because I think what we must never underestimate is the popularity of Tommy among the British working class, whereas Ant would probably get the more sort of settled, sort of, you know, middle class kind of people would gravitate to Ant because he's a bit more polished, right? Because of his media career and so on and so forth. Tommy still, you know, like massively appeals to the working class, and Ant would as well. So I think the two of them could really do a lot. But here's another thing, and this is where we've got to look at what Trump did in his last election campaign. Trump brought in people from the Democrat Party. Now, I know Farage is trying to emulate that, but it's a question of, are there people that appear to be on the left that aren't really on the left? I think about the guy that's on GB News, the ginger-haired guy, the firemen's union man. I forget his name. But people like that are actually really on the same page as us. They're just a bit left-leaning, so that you can appeal to some of those Labour guys that have voted Labour all their life and are realising that time's up for the Labour Party. So that's just a bit of out-the-box thinking. But it's all kind of hypothetical, isn't it, really?
I'd like to see Tommy stand somewhere like, you know, somewhere up in the northeast, maybe somewhere.
Newcastle or Sunderland. Newcastle
or Sunderland or Middlesbrough. Yeah, somewhere in those regions. I'd love that. Love to, you know, I'd give me right arm to see him become a member of Parliament.
We had a lot of, when we did UKIP, we had a lot of success in the northeast. Keith Jenkins, I'll give a big shout out to Keith. Keith was an absolute stalwart, and he did very well. He actually was the only person in UKIP to win an election, a council election outright. So Sunderland's a prime ground for Advance to organise. And again, Keith had some really serious personal issues, but he seems to be coming through them now. And basically, be great to see Keith get back in the saddle, because Keith would definitely win for Advance up in the northeast without a shadow of a doubt.
Flexi official there, great point. Look, Rupert leader, Ben Sherman, then a strong woman as deputy, Susan Hall. Look, the bottom line is this: is that the opportunity is there, has been there for Rupert and for a number of other people, and for reasons that remain a mystery to me, and I would imagine to Richard and to Howard, is that they have declined and have gone off and done their own thing. Now, going back to, you know, lightly talking about some of the other bigger YouTubers as well, make your bloody minds up, you know, put your foot in the camp, dare to be different, you know, put your best foot forward. We all know that Ben is the best man and Advance is the best party for the job. So what's holding you back? Look, I've been a big fan of Rupert Lowe, but I'll be honest with you,
there's something not right about it, Paul. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I don't know what's gone on. But there's something not right. Look, I don't want to sow division, because at the end of the day, Rupert would be an asset, as would Nick Tenconi. Nick would be an asset to Advance as well. Nick would be an asset on the right. Rupert would be a sort of, well, Rupert's pretty hard right as well, but Rupert would be an asset because he's an MP. But I'm going, you know, just give everything else up and get behind Advance. We get one go at this, you know, and it's yeah.
By the way, sorry interrupting. If anyone hasn't seen Baraka's video with Ben, brilliant. Well done, Baraka.
Yeah, one of the things that, you know, it's important to understand is on the right-hand side, I've never seen so many parties that were led by such big egos. And you're absolutely right. I mean, Nick Tenconi, I've got a lot of respect for him. He was at Bristol, wasn't he? Talking down there. I saw his video on that sort of thing, and he's very good in front of the media and the camera and that sort of thing. So he's got lots of talent. But the thing that gets me is, you've made the point. I think they've got about 4,000 members now.
That.
I mean, if that is it,
Yeah.
and we've got approaching 40,000 paid members, 50,000 sign-ups. These are the sorts of things we're growing fast, and as soon as we get, and that's before we're registered, and we're going to hit the roof. Honestly, I think there's a lot of good people. The important thing for us is actually to try and break the spine of the mainstream media to allow us to get a voice. I'm sorry, we do still need that. I mean, I used to write regularly for The Sun, but because of in fact, this is interesting. When I declared my support for reform and standing as mayor, I was virtually dropped from writing, op-eds in there, which I was getting paid for, and all because I supported reform. Now the Sun are all over Nigel Farage. He's got double-page spreads in there and everything. That's the hypocrisy of the mainstream media.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's deep state stuff. This Howard as well. I mean, I don't know if they still have them. Years ago, they used to have D notices where they could just ban the papers from talking about stuff. And what they do is the MI5, MI6 would pull newspapers in and literally say, "We'll give you some sneaky beaky information that sounds really sexy. You run that story as long as you don't run this story." And we know that used to happen with editorial departments and editors. And a lot of the editors are working for the security services as well. There was a lot of foreign journalists working for MI6, a lot of home journalists working for MI5. So the reality of this is that we are not going to get a fair crack of the whip if the establishment are against us. So that's why I'm massively talking about these social media guys. If you're not doing it, why not? Who's got to you? Who's paying you? Simple as. And if filthy lucre is more important, because I know some of these people are making a disgusting amount of money. If filthy lucre is more important to you than the country that you're living in, then maybe you're in the wrong game.
And I was recently asked to be on a radio station. I'm nameless. It's quite a popular one. And the producer said, "Oh, what's your title, Howard?" I said, "Well, I'm founder of Fairfield UK, and I'm on the Advanced UK College." He said, "Well, what's that about?" And he went away to sort it out. He said he was going to put it down in my little byline underneath my ugly mug, was going to have that all underneath. And I came back when I did the actual interview. There was just founder of Fairfield UK on it. And I spoke to him after. He said, "Oh, he was told that could not be shown." See, that's what we're up against.
Unbelievable.
And that,
Come on,
and
lads.
Everyone out there, why.
Everyone out there. Sorry, Richard. Don't forget all these big channels you watch out there. Ask them in the comments. Why are you not backing Ben Habib and Advance UK? Ask them.
Yeah.
There's
Because
two
I haven't
channels.
got the answer.
There's two channels that I'm thinking about. I'm not going to name them. I've already named them on my own channel. There's two channels that I'm thinking about that if they got behind Ben, it would make a massive difference. And my question to them is, why haven't you done what you said you were going to do? Simple as. I don't care. And I'll name them on my own channel. I'll just not do it on yours, Paul, for the sake of respect. But I mean, it really does frustrate me.
It's very frustrating. I'll tell you what else is frustrating, guys. We've got 2,400 people watching, and I've only got 924 upvotes. So come on, please give me an upvote, guys. It's completely free. It doesn't cost you a penny. I'm not asking for the world. Just hit that thumbs up button. It will really be appreciated. Now, guys, don't forget, on Christmas Day, it is Paul Thorpe and Friends Christmas Day live. I broke the news to Mrs. T this afternoon.
Oh.
And the look she gave me, well, I tell you what, it was, let me just say that I think Vladimir Putin would have gone running away with his tail between his legs. But when I explained to her that our viewers' need is greater than hers and that there's a lot of people going to be on their own on Christmas Day, and this year I've promised them they're not going to be alone. Howard, we're going to be streaming from 10 a.m. Christmas morning, maybe even earlier, and we're going to be streaming all day.
Wow.
Just for the people that have got no one else this year. Well, this year they have. They got the Advanced UK family. Guys, don't forget, look, GB Views at gbnews.uk.
Bring back Ben. Just say, bring back Ben Habib.
Bring back Ben Habib. I'm a member of Advance. Why are you not giving Ben Habib a voice? And until you do, maybe until you do, I shan't bother watching anymore.
Yeah, and slip the one in and say you were aware that they're the fastest growing party in Europe. at the moment. So I'm 40,000, paid up members, which is quicker than that Reform got to. And at the last general election, I only had 30,000. That was
That's
the
right.
self-imposed target that Ben put on the party.
And let's be honest, Howard. There's, if there was a general election, even if there was a general election called tomorrow, I think Advance UK would be in better shape than when the last general election was called for that Reform were in. Do you know what I mean? Without a shadow of a doubt, because the management of Advance UK is so much more professional than Reform's. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. Jackie, thank you, Jackie. Guys, please watch Baraka's interview with Ben. If you didn't love him, you will now. Gives his life story. Great show tonight, Paul, as always. Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, please do watch that interview with Baraka. By the way, Baraka is coming along leaps and bounds. I really, really like the guy. He's such a genuine young man, and he is an absolute epitome of what people coming to live in this country should be. So well done, Baraka.
No, I totally agree with that, Paul. We need to get him back on the channel as well.
We do. He's going to go far. He's going to go far. And
listen, he's had a lot of adversity as well, Paul. Even with his channels and stuff, he got cancelled, he got demonetized. So, and he's still there, and that's what it's about. It's about keeping going. He's got grit. Baraka's got grit. Stacks of time for him.
A lot of respect for the lad.
Yeah.
Jenny, thank you very much, Jenny. I'm worried about the general election and what Labour will do, as Starmer won't give up power easily. He won't give up power easily, but Jenny, I don't think it's going to be Starmer we're dealing with. We'll sort of bring the show to an end now because we've been on for an hour and a half. But before we go, Richard, some predictions. Oh, first of all, don't forget to ask me about my prediction. Did you watch the Ben Eubank fight last night?
I saw the highlights, mate. I saw the highlights. I mean, do you know what? It was really, I find it really weird watching them fight because it's a generational feud between the Bens and the Eubanks. And, fair play to Ben. I mean, he really, really turned it on, didn't he? From what I saw. I mean, like I say, I only saw the highlights.
He won on points.
He won on points, but he nearly knocked him out in the last round. In the 12th round, he nearly knocked Eubank out. He really went at him and he hit him with some big shots. And he's physically a lot smaller than Eubank as well. But he just seemed a lot sharper, didn't he, Paul, to me? He seemed a hell of a lot sharper, a lot more aggressive.
Yeah, I was disappointed, to be honest. I mean, Eubank didn't turn up. I mean, if that's all that Eubank's got left, then, obviously that is the end of his boxing career. Look, I'm glad they both come out unscathed. I can say quite safely, having followed both the fathers' careers and knowing Nigel Benn quite well back in the day personally, I would say that neither of them would hold a candle to their fathers.
I agree. Absolutely 100%. 100% agree with that. I mean, Eubank had an absolute granite jaw. I mean, I'm not about the old. I'm not about Chris Eubank Senior. An absolute granite jaw. You could have hit him with a sledgehammer on the jaw. You just, batted it off.
Ben could punch like a bloody mule.
And the aggression of Ben Senior as well was just phenomenal.
Yeah. And I tell you what I like about Nigel as well. I don't know if you noticed last night, but he wore a poppy into the ring.
Well, he's a veteran.
He's a veteran.
Yeah, he's a veteran. He's a Fusilier. He was in Northern Ireland. He was. There's a mate. I have a mate lives around the corner. He used to train with him in the Fusiliers. And he's a proper lad. And he was karate man as well. He did karate before he did boxing, so that's why he's got the power in his punches. But,
great lad. But the cynic in me, unfortunately, and I'm going to say this, the cynic in me says that what I think we'll get now is we'll get the reasons behind Eubank Jr.'s level of performance, if that's what you can call it, with all due respect. I mean, blimey, I think I'd have had a chance of getting a draw out of him last night, But I think we'll hear the reasons.
We'll ask Danny about that.
Yeah, and then it sets it up for a third decider, doesn't it? Which is very convenient.
Do you know what I don't like about the boxing at the minute? And I deliberately won't do the pay-per-view thing. They're all doing it in Saudi Arabia, right? This is the Islamization of British sport, and it's very deliberate.
Last night, to be fair, it was in Tottenham, so that.
Was it not in?
No.
Oh no, it was sponsored by the Saudis. It was sponsored by the Saudis. Sorry, it was sponsored by the Saudis. But either it doesn't really matter because it is sponsored by governments that are completely oppressive and repressive. It's the same as the Saudis buying Newcastle. Was it the Qataris bought Man City, or whoever it was bought Man City a few years ago? The Arabization of British sport is absolutely ridiculous. So wherever they were fighting isn't the issue. The issue is that it's who's paying the piper, and it's the Saudis and the Qataris and all these absolutely horrendous regimes that have one agenda, that is to Islamize the whole of British culture. And I don't want anything to do with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Sorry to get in about the boxing thing, because I go back to Sonny Liston and Cassius Clay, when he was Cassius Clay, and all those sorts of days, because I'm an old git. But what I was really excited about this weekend, I'm really happy, man, is that we beat the All Blacks at rugby for the 13. Did you see that? You don't know anything about rugby, you guys? No.
Not really. No. I used to play when I was in the military, but yeah, I used to.
Howard, come on, mate. I was brought up in South London. I mean, we didn't do rugby where I come from. It was football, boxing. That's it. Well, you must have gone to a public school.
Henry Cosson, Thomas Beckett.
Yeah.
The thing is that, I mean, rugby league up north's a working class sport. So rugby league's not, it's totally different, rugby league to rugby union. Rugby union's the posh boys, but rugby league was very working class.
Richard, I'll buy you a beer and train you in the actual the finesse of rugby.
Yeah, rugby. Yeah.
No, I played rugby union when I was at school, and when I was in the army, I played. But it's but that was.
Well, they say the difference between football and rugby. Rugby is a game played by gentlemen. Rugby is a game for thugs played by gentlemen, and football is a game for thugs.
Gentlemen played by
thugs, something like that. I don't know.
Not anymore.
There you go. So, we was going to talk about prediction, right? So we'll end with this, right? And don't forget, guys, email GB News and ask them why Ben Habibi's no longer on the show. So prediction, will Keir Starmer be ousted before the start of the new year, Richard? Yes or no?
Paul, listen, I said as soon as he recognised the so-called Palestinian pile of rubble, I said, that's it. I says, he's finished. He'll be finished by Christmas. I said, you can check me, you can fact check me on that. It's on my channel. As soon as he mentioned that, I said, he's done. So my prediction is he'll be gone by Christmas.
Howard?
No, by May elections.
By the May election. So you think he'll still be there?
Because the infighting that's going on at the moment, all the things, the four of them, they haven't gone get it right. If there was one other candidate, for sure, I think he will be out by Christmas. I think Richard's right. But with the four of them all vying for a position, they've got to get support and backing from the National Executive, all of the unions and all those sorts of things. I don't think they can do it by Christmas. And the May elections is the big thing, because they're going to be wiped out in Wales and Scotland. That's going to be wiped out completely. And I think there's no way. I think he'll walk out then. He'll resign.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to end tonight with this one because I think it's a corker. Hooky the Hammer says, I won my first cage fight last night. The canary didn't know what hit him.
That's nice, a belter, isn't it? That's a belter.
Right,
Superb.
Gentlemen, Howard, Richard, absolutely two great guests again, as normal. I don't want to give you nightmares, guys, but, try and put this image out of your mind before you go to bed tonight, because you won't be able to sleep. I can promise you now. I'll tell you what, Angela Rayner really gives me the heebie-jeebies, I've got to tell you.
The ginger growler.
She scares the living daylights out of me. Right,
Mark Stein called her the ginger growler. They'll never, such a perfect description.
Can I just ask one plea from all your viewers? Actually, please sign up to Fairfield UK as well. Help me stop this. It's going to help all of you, because if it goes up, which I predict they're going to reverse the 5p temporary cut that Sunak brought in, that's going to cost you an extra £3 filling up at an average family car, but a truck £50.
And where can they do that, Howard? Where can they do that?
Go to fairfueluk.com. It's on there.
Fairfueluk.com.
I really appreciate that. All right.
Right, guys. Have a good week, everyone. I really hope that you'll enjoy. What's the weather like back home at the moment, Howard? Is it a bit grey?
Yeah, it's dark and dank and drizzly. That's what we got here at the moment.
Bit like Labour, really.
We've got snow on the way, Paul. We've got snow on the way. Not that upside down snow you had on your channel. We've got proper snow coming up north. So
Yeah,
Right.
I'm in the sunny south.
that's it.
Love to everyone. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
All
Yes,
the
take
best.
care. Bye bye.
Bye.